It's us again.
I was about to be like, who's there?
No, we're not Black-Eyed Children or Santa. We could be Santa, I don't know.
Ho, ho,
but
ho! Merry Christmas!
we are back. We are here. We are at it again. It has been a month since we recorded. I do not remember how to do this.
My desk is actually fucking dusty from not having, because I don't use my computer that much, other than to play Sims and stuff like that. But starting at my new store and everything like that, I fucking get home and I'm dead. I'm I need sleep, and then I had fucking ear infection. And then I had some other shit going on, and I just haven't touched my computer, I think, since the last time we recorded. So when I came in here today, I was like, oh, she a bit dusted? And I literally had to, fully turn her back on again for her to work, rather than just, tap me keyboard.
Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it's been a month. We are, 3 days shy of it being a month since we last recorded. Not from lack of trying, a lot has happened.
Oh my god, I know, right?
First of all, as Kirsten you may have picked up from that little hint Kirsten just threw out there, we don't work together anymore.
Oh, yeah!
So these are going to be even more interesting, because this is literally actually going to be us catching up.
Literally, though. Big
and
sad.
then on top of that, so we're recording a double today so that you're at least going to get something next week too, don't worry. It's our Christmas gift to you. Hey besties, Editing Jeremy jumping in here with a quick disclaimer. Technically, we did do 2 episodes in this session, but we only actually recorded one of them. We did that again, so... Go team. So yeah, probably won't be an episode for you next week, considering this weekend is Christmas. Whoops. What are you going to do about it? One of those batch of notes I wrote 2-3 weeks ago and was ready to go and so eager to tell you the tale. And then I got sick. And despite every test I took coming back negative, I'm pretty sure that it was COVID, because it fucked me over. It knocked me over sideways, and I lost my voice for 2 weeks, and then you had an ear infection in both ears.
I don't know how. Every fucking medical professional, anyone who's ever had an ear infection that I've spoken to about this, they're like, did you go swimming? And I'm like, no, I didn't even get to do the fun thing to get the shitty reward. I did nothing. It was so horrible. I don't think I've had that much pain in, my head ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I actually ended up telling you this, but I got so bad, I ended up going to the hospital on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Because I was lying there, and I couldn't concentrate on anything. I had my eyes closed, I had, a fucking heat pack, because this side was worse, so I had a heat pack to that ear, and I was, messaging my sister, and I was like, I can't fucking deal with this pain anymore, and I can't take time off work because I've just started somewhere new and I'm there to replace someone else, help out with someone else, and I was like, I can't just, take a couple of days to get better or anything like that. I was like, I have to go to work. I'd been going to work the whole time. I was fucking dying. I was moving so slowly at work. And I'm messaging her and I'm like, I fucking can't. I fucking can't. And she's like, okay, let's try and call, telehealth. And there was, they tried to call a home doctor thing, and there was none available, and she was like, do you want me to take you to the doctor? And she's like, do you want me to take you to the hospital? I'm like, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but girl, I want to fucking kill myself right now. I'm in so much pain. And then, I got to spend 6 hours in the hospital, so woo! But I did. Sorry, I was just going to say I had a follow-up doctor's appointment today, and she said that both my ears are healed. This one's just one step behind this one, but she's Gucci, so yeah.
I started off as just being sore throat and slight headache, and I was like, it's fine, I'll push through. I've done a negative test, everything's all good. Next day, went to work, got a couple of hours into the shift, and I was like, no, not all good. because it's the same way that when I did confirmed have COVID, I knew that I needed to go and take a test right that instant because every muscle in my body just locked and ached. But I think that's also just my body's immune response to any time I get sick. Because every time I get sick, I get full-blown body aches. So I went home, and that night, thankfully I'd already taken the next day off. That night, I did not sleep at all. Because I had a knot in either side of my skull that was just, it was throbbing. Like, it was worse than any migraine I've ever had.
Yeah.
I didn't have any painkillers in the house.
No.
Because I had cold and flu medication, and I thought I'd grabbed painkillers. Or I went to grab painkillers. I'm like, oh no, I have ibuprofen in my work bag. Did not have ibuprofen in my work bag. I'd used it all.
Oh no.
Did not sleep, like, was genuinely considering a self-lobotomy. Like, I thought I was being dramatic, laying there at 2 a.m. being like, this must be what hell feels like.
Me, my entire time with the ear infection. No,
and then
I feel that.
I was feeling better, came back to work, but everyone, you, for example, when I bumped into you at my work, when you looked at me and went, oh, you look like shit, you must still be sick, and I responded with, I'm actually physically 100% okay now. Thank you for that.
I feel so bad for that.
Everyone, the second I opened my mouth and they heard my voice, they're like, oh, you're getting worse. And I'm like, no, I feel perfectly fine. It's just, my voice is gone. And I'm pretty sure I actually turned to Bean Pie at one point in the middle of last week and was like, what if my voice never comes back and I just sound like this forever?
Oh, gosh.
I still don't fully have it back. Like, it's coming and going.
Honestly, I feel that. I didn't realize how much hearing like, obviously, you fucking use your hearing. But, like, I was basically deaf. I could hear, like, a little bit out of this ear, because this is my good ear. And customers would, like, and also, like, at one point, I was in so much pain, I couldn't move my mouth very well, so I was literally talking like this, and that's the only way I could talk. And, like, customers kept coming to me and asking me questions, and I was like, oh, sure, that? And then they'd just stare at me, and I'd be like, or they'd ask me a question, I'd be like, what? And they were like, can you just, I'm like, I can't. I'd literally just face this ear to them and be like, what? What do you mean? And be doing these ones, just be like, talk into this ear, this is how I can hear you. And yeah, so that was an interesting couple of days. Keen to go back to work on Sunday. We've bitched about our medical.
We've talked about our physical health for about 15 minutes now. I'm probably going to cut a fair chunk of that. We haven't even introduced ourselves.
Why would the listeners not want to hear about my ear infections and your colds, Jeremy? That's what they come to.
Possibly COVID. One of us couldn't speak and the other couldn't hear. And so we just kept being
I feel like we just needed a third to be the whole speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil.
Well, we couldn't see each other, so
there we go. We were the triplets here without even trying.
We just kept being like, hey, I've got my notes. Are we good to record this day?
I'm dying.
And then that day, no, not happening. Can't do it. We're doing great. That, I haven't even gotten to my mental health, and I have a story about that.
Jesus Christ. But also, can we talk about the fact that I thought I'd finished a set of my notes, and I went to start writing the second set, and as I, like, opened up my book, I looked down, and I was like, is there an ending to this, you dumb bitch? What? And then had to spend, like, 40 minutes writing the ending to that case before I could actually start the next one.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened with last time we recorded as well. That you hadn't actually finished your notes.
It's like
and then I had to check if I finished mine.
End. Yeah, I like read the end and I'm like, oh, that's how it ends. And then I just fucking like close my book because I'm sick of writing about it or something. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And then I open it up. I'm like, bitch, you did not finish.
I'll introduce this in a second, but first I've been holding on to this story for like 3 weeks now. I did something.
Did you murder someone? I can't believe you waited 3 weeks to tell me.
No. I would have called you in the process.
Yeah, literally though. I was like, babe, why would you not call me while you were doing it? I have a car. What did you do?
So, just to really put in context where I was at mentally at the time, this went down 5 minutes after I bawled my eyes out because I didn't like my dinner. And couldn't eat it all.
I mean, not me because I can't cry, but like, I'm sure other people have been there.
Because I just felt so bad that Mateo had made this food for me, and the pork and fennel sausages were like pure fennel. It was so overpowering. I got 2 bites into the sausages and I'm like, I'm not eating those, I'm sorry. And then I tried to eat the rest of the food on my plate, but depression stomach kicked in. So
honestly,
my stomach just went, we're closed for business. And I still had an entire plate of food in front of me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, it's okay, I have lunch for tomorrow now. And then I just sat there and bawled my eyes out. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's just looking at me like, okay. So, that's the context to frame where I was at mentally. Okay. The apartment across from him has a child that likes to scream incessantly loud.
What did you do?
Apparently their new thing is to just open the apartment door and let the child have free reign of the hallway, running up and down, screaming, pulling on door handles. And so this kid had been doing that on and off from about like 5 p.m. onwards when I got there. And then during the time of us making dinner, sitting down to eat dinner, and then cleaning up after dinner, it was like a constant string of it. We're talking like probably 45 minutes straight of this kid running up and down, screaming, tugging on door handles. I'm really on edge. We were sitting on the balcony eating dinner, and it was still with the TV on, and it was still an issue.
Gross, though.
It's like 8:30 at night. It's a young child.
Fucker should be in bed.
So Mateo's gone to the bathroom, and I'm in the kitchen, like, moving the dinner I didn't eat into a container and rinsing off my plate. And I hear the kid rattling on the door handle, and I'm just gone, nah, fuck this, threw my cutlery in the sink, gone and opened the door, and the kid's just standing there looking. And I got down to about its level, and with a really giant smile on my face, I just was like, hi. And the kid just looked at me, and I was like, if you ever, and I mean ever, touch my door handle again, I will make sure that the monster under your bed rips you to shreds, okay? And this kid just stared at me. It didn't work because it then continued to run down the hallway again. But it was like maybe 2 minutes after that it went home and the door was shut because I think the parents may have heard me. Anyway, I stand up and shut the door and turn around and Mateo's standing there. And he's like, did you just say what I think you said? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I knew I was dating a psycho, but like...
Damn.
I didn't realize you were that psycho. And I'm like, to be fair, could have been worse. I could have in great detail explained some heinous things that have occurred to children. If I really wanted to. But anyway, yeah, so I had a cry, and then I threatened a child. It's all about balance. Self-care done right.
I love that so much. I honestly, at the beginning, I thought you were going to be like, when you were like, the child was just like screaming non-stop, I thought you were just going to open the door and scream in his face. And I was going to be like, pop off, queen. But I think I like this one better, especially the hi.
Yeah.
Fucking kill you. Oh my god. Jesus Christ, that's so bad. But also, can we talk about the parents? Like,
yeah,
why would you open your door? That's the part that's getting me.
Yeah.
Like, babe, suffer your own shit. Discipline your child.
Anyway, enough on that. You are listening to Rent Free in My Head, the podcast where we take the thoughts squatting in our brains and set them up with residence in yours, free of charge. Each week, Kirsten... Well, I can't even say each week. Whenever the hell we record... Kirsten traumatizes me with a true crime tale.
And then Jeremy traumatizes me right back with a mystery because it doesn't have a fucking ending and he knows that irritates.
Because we're recording a double, so obviously I've got 2 sets of notes for you. I actually have 3 cases for you tonight. One of them I am so fucking excited and eager to tell you about, but it's going to be the second episode because I kind of at the last minute changed my notes for this one because I had a realization. So you get 2 mysteries from me tonight, this episode.
Okay. My first one are long.
Okay. That's good because mine are 2 short, shallow ones because I realized this episode comes out the Wednesday before Christmas. So I picked Christmas cases.
I did not. Neither of my cases have anything to do with Christmas, and I fucking...
Yeah, I also didn't tell you. It was a thought that I had this afternoon. So...
Poor. Whatever. Well, we'll just get right into it then. My case has nothing to do with Christmas because Jeremy's a horrible person and didn't think to, warn me. I'm also just really dumb and didn't think to math it in any way, shape, or form. Actually, you know what? The thought did cross my mind for a millisecond. Last week or the week before, I was like, we should do a Christmas case.
It also doesn't feel like Christmas is a week away, though. I say while I'm sitting here wearing a child's Santa t-shirt.
I'm wearing a shirt that says cute as a bunny, and it has a bunny on it.
Cute. I got Santa riding motorbike. I like how you kicked this off with, alright, let's just jump straight into it as if we haven't been talking for 25 minutes straight and not jumped straight into it.
Anyway, let's get us down to business. So,
this isn't urine that I'm drinking, by the way. It's Blue V.
It does kind of look like it, but I also recognize Blue V because I'm a massive slut for Blue V.
Fair. I got the glass out for the bottle of wine to follow, but I just woke up from a nap 5 minutes before messaging you to say, hey, I'm ready to record. And so I'm I need to wake up a bit, and I need to get through 2 episodes, so I'll hold off on opening the wine.
Fair. I'm drinking vodka and...
I mean, there's gin in here as well.
Pop off, queen. Anyway. So, you were actually the one who told me about this case, but I don't know if it's the right one. Because all you said to me was Greyhound bus.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I picked the right one, because when I googled it, apparently shit has happened on Greyhound buses more than once.
Not surprised.
We'll find out. I think it probably is the one you were thinking of.
Does it involve a Canadian?
Yes. Okay, so it is the one you're thinking of.
I believe so.
Okay, so it is that one, but there was another one that I saw at the same time, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely that one. Alrighty, so, oh my god.
She's a doozy.
I've literally written in the beginning of my notes, apparently wild shit has happened on a Greyhound bus more than once, which is, scary. Because, fun fact, I used to catch Greyhound buses all the time between my mother's house and my father's house for access. So, I could have died.
If it makes you feel better, I first heard this case while on a bus. It wasn't a Greyhound bus, like it was just my usual bus home from work, but it was still on a bus.
Yes.
Same as watching the new Scream 6 teaser trailer, which takes place on a train, was probably not the best thing to watch on the train to work.
I think that's a perfect time to watch it. Sorry, I'm like looking at my notes and I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking when you wrote this? So, it's pretty bonks. But it happened in Canada, or Canada as Jeremy calls it, which I accidentally almost said that to a real human the other day. When they said something to me, I was like, oh, you mean Canada? And then they looked at me like I was the dumbest person in the world because I didn't know how to pronounce Canada.
If I hadn't taken a sharp turn towards Christmas at the last minute, I also would have been taking us to Canada.
That would have been really romantic. Okay, so we will be traveling. What the fuck? Bit of hair in my face. Sorry. We will be traveling the Trans-Canada. Fuck you. Highway. Which is a transcontinental federal provincial highway system that travels through all 10 provinces of Canada, from the Pacific Ocean west coast to the Atlantic Ocean east coast. It was very confusing when trying to look at a map about it, so I'm not going to go into detail about that, and I was just confused, so some of my notes don't make some sense because I was confused.
Which is surprising that you were confused, because we all know that geography is your strong suit.
Exactly. I was shocked as well. Now, this bad boy is one of the longest routes of its type in the world, coming in at 4,645 miles, which in normal people terms is 7,476 kilometers. Enough about that, though. No one really gives a shit. Kind of comes into play. But also, like, again, I didn't really understand it, and I didn't really care to Google it more. So, on July 30th...
It's a road. A long road.
Yes. On July 30th, 2008, Tim McLean got on the 1170 Greyhound bus from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, obviously. He was a 22-year-old carnival barker. So basically he's like the dude that tries to get people to come to the entertainment events. So like he like goes around and he's like, look at me, I can juggle! Come see cool shit at the circus!
You said barker and I just immediately pictured someone barking at people like a dog.
When I first read it,
woof,
that's
woof.
exactly what I pictured, and I was like, what the fuck? Does he just like stand at the circus going, woof? You're weirdly good at that. And he was trying to return home to Winnipeg, which I've written in brackets, middle ? Because I think that that's in the middle of this journey. Not entirely sure. It's confusing. Didn't care enough to keep Googling it. Moving on.
Winnipeg just makes me think of a Harry Potter musical, and I don't even remember what the reference is anymore. It's just I hear Winnipeg and my brain immediately goes, Harry Potter musical.
It's about
I've not watched that in like a decade.
Anyway, Tim decided to sit at the back of the bus, one row up from the toilet, which is like samesies. That's also where I used to sit, because like if you needed to shit really bad, right there. But also like people wouldn't want to sit down there because it was near the toilet. But like 90% of the time you could not smell the toilet. That's fine.
Unless someone was like really destroying it, which I heard a horror story this morning of someone on a German train like destroying the toilet and making sure everyone else on the train was aware of it by like screaming and yelling in the process.
I don't think I've ever screamed while taking
I felt traumatized for my friend. Like,
why are you verbal while shitting? You should see
They also were like belting out that Pitbull song, the Hotel Motel Holiday
Okay,
Inn,
like I can understand maybe
and
singing
other shit
while
the whole
you're
way.
shitting, because then you would be like no one can hear me shitting because I'm singing, you know, like la-di-da-di-da-di-da-da-da-da-da, no one can hear me shitting right now, I'm just singing, so they're thinking about me shitting, but they can't hear it, so it's less awkward.
I just wouldn't never be in that situation because I refuse to poo anywhere that isn't my own home.
I used to be like that, but then I was forced to shit elsewhere because sometimes my body hates me. Anyway, enough about shitting. I already read that part. At 6:55 p.m., the bus departed Ericsson Manitoba. Oh, my bad, it says Manitoba. Thank you. With new passengers. Among these passengers was, let me just refer back to my original notes, Marlene Gregory and, oh my god, I've forgotten the bad guy's name. That's embarrassing. Vince Wegwan Lee. I feel a little bit bad for not pronouncing that rightly, but I'm going to move on. Lee initially chose to sit at the front of the bus, but at a stop, he moved to the back of the bus next to where Tim was sitting. So not like in the seats like across from him, like literally next to Timmy boy.
Yeah.
Tim, you know, apparently barely acknowledged him, which, like, fair, apparently was, like, super late in the evening, and he was fucking tired. He had headphones in, and really wanted a nap, which, like, fat fucking mood, can relate. So, he was just kind of like, whatever, cool that someone's sitting next to me, kind of weird, don't really give a fuck, I'm gonna go have my nap. So he kind of, like, turns his head, like, towards the window, settles in for a nap, presumably falls asleep. Not, like, super sure how much later, but later on, Tim was fast asleep. Lee suddenly produced a large knife out of seemingly fucking nowhere and began stabbing Tim in the neck and chest. A man named Stephen Allison, who had been sitting near them, immediately jumped up and ran to the front of the bus to tell the bus driver to stop. Bus driver obviously did stop. He pulled over and everyone started running from the bus because someone was getting fucking stabbed. At this point, Stephen looks back to where it's happening and realizes that his wife is frozen in fear a couple of seats away and has not moved. So Stephen, like, fucking yeets himself over the seats to get to the back of the bus where his wife, Isabella, is sitting, grabs her, and they run off the bus together. So, once everyone is off the bus safely, the bus driver, a man, I think it was a passenger, and a truck driver, God, I had to, like, write down a bunch of people. I tried to get, like, a passenger list, but I couldn't. So then I just kind of had to, there was 34 passengers on the bus. I couldn't get a passenger list. I literally only know the names of 8, including Tim and Lee. So, fucking ridiculous. Okay, I'm just checking because I had to write their names down in a different part of my book. So, everyone's off the bus. And then a truck driver who obviously I think was traveling behind them, I'm not sure how far, but he's pulled over as well to be like, yo, are you guys okay? You've just suddenly pulled over. Bus driver and everyone's like, someone's getting fucking stabbed. And they're like, he's like, well, fuck, okay. I can't remember who because I read so many fucking articles about this and I didn't write it down because I did get locked out of an article.
That's fucking rude.
But in that article, it did mention something about I don't know for sure if it was the truck driver, whose name is Chris Aguirre, or if it was another passenger, but at some point, there was a man who was pleading with Lee to stop stabbing Tim, to no avail, and obviously Tim was fucking dead because he'd been a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So then he called 911. So...
Yeah, and they've, like, at this point... Everyone's off the bus and it's completely locked up because it's just... And from memory, I feel like they were standing there for hours.
They were.
Outside the bus, yeah.
Chris Aguirre, the truck driver, the bus driver, and a male passenger, attempted to stop Lee, but Lee swung at them with his knife, so then they barricaded Lee in. They barricaded the bus door so that Lee couldn't get out. And then they grabbed some tools from Chris's truck, like a hammer, a crowbar, and they had them as weapons to protect them if Lee did try and, like, get out through a window or something like that.
Yeah.
The bus driver also super smartly, couldn't find out his name though, which I was a little bit annoyed about. He engaged the emergency immobilizer system, which renders the vehicle inoperable. So that means that no matter how many times Lee tried to start the bus to drive away, he was unable to. He was fucking stuck there.
That's a smart move, damn.
Right? Exactly. What a fucking smart bus driver. There was also, I think it was in that article I got locked out of, another bus that was travelling the same route like hours after who ended up stopping, and he was named Bernie Syrup and Skirrup. My bad, not Syrup. And he ended up helping a little bit as well. But, so, while all this fucking shit is happening and, like, the passengers are huddled by the side of the road, crying their fucking eyes out, vomiting, like, unable to kind of tear their eyes away from what is happening in the bus, also what they've already seen, Lee decapitated Tim. And then he apparently got Tim's head and put it on display for the passengers huddled by the side of the road. He then returned to the back of the bus, because obviously they're not going to be able to see what he's doing at the back of the bus. So he was like, no, fuck y'all, I'm going to take off his head.
Well, they wouldn't be able to see anything that he's doing on the bus unless he's, like, up at the window holding the head up. So, you know, that's why he's making the show, because, like, they're down here, buses are so tall, and then, like, the windows.
The way it was described is that he puts it on display for them. So I assume he put it on, like, the dashboard at the front of the bus. Because that's still fairly lit, even if the bus is stopped. So I think when I read it, the way I envisioned it was he put it at the front on the dashboard so that they could all see it from the side of the road, and then he went back to where Tim's body was. This is when he apparently started cutting off pieces of Tim's body and eating them.
Yeah.
So, I think it was by 8:30, police had received a report of a stabbing on a Greyhound bus west of the city. By 9 o'clock, the police were in a standoff with Lee, with negotiators and a tactical unit having been requested. Police also observed Lee eating Tim. So they obviously got a better vantage point than the passengers. Also, they were trying to fucking see what he was doing, whereas the passengers just fucking were not.
Which is fair, do not blame them.
Literally, though. So they actually, some of them did see him cutting bits off and eating him. The remaining passengers were thankfully removed from the scene and transported elsewhere to be interviewed. And apparently they did report that Lee is quoted as saying, "I have to stay on the bus forever." So that's what one of the police officers heard him say. On July... Oh, this is actually shorter than I realised. That's so awkward. On July 31st, 2008, at 1:30 a.m., so this is the next day, Lee attempted to escape the bus by breaking a window. However, before he could, which I don't really know why he was going to, because he was surrounded by police.
Yeah.
He was tasered and then arrested. Police obviously did a search of his body to remove the knife and check if there was any other weapons. And in that search, they found Tim's ear, nose, and tongue in Lee's pockets. Unfortunately, Tim's eyes and part of his heart were never recovered. So they were presumably eaten.
Quite likely.
Yes. So, by 10 a.m., Greyhound had taken the passengers to a local store to replace the clothes, and they were reunited. Sorry, I wrote this weirdly. By 10 a.m, Greyhound had taken passengers to a local store to replace the clothes that they had been wearing on the bus if they were affected by blood or anything like that, and I think just maybe so they could change. And then by 3:30 p.m, they had arrived in Winnipeg to be reunited with their family and friends and everything like that. The husband and wife, who, like, the man who initially saw what was happening and alerted thing, so they stayed at a Brandon hotel for a week and a half after the incident, where apparently the scene just played an endless loop in Stephen's head, and I assume it would be the same for his wife. He's quoted as saying, "Since that day, it's been hard to go out, hard to meet new people. I'm always suspicious everywhere I go that someone will do something. I'm always looking over my back, even around friends." He also nearly bombed out of university. And he says that Greyhound representatives assured him compensation and trauma counselling would come the couple's way, but shortly after the killing, the email addresses and phone numbers for Greyhound provided stopped working. The company did pay $437 to reimburse the couple's clothing, trading cards, a pillow, and a pair of sunglasses, because the stuff was so stained that they couldn't give it back to them.
Oh, fuck.
A spokeswoman for Greyhound said that the company had treated compensation and counselling needs on a case-by-case basis. So, a bit fucked up. Yeah. Oh, no. I do know the fucking bus driver's name. Apologies. The bus driver's name was Bruce Martin, and he was the one who pleaded with Mr. Lee. He was the one who pleaded. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I did manage to screen grab that part. So he was the one who was, like, standing there being like, "Please fucking stop, like, please stop," and he was the one who called 911, and he says that he relives that moment between 5 and 50 times a day, and he can't. Shit. He just becomes numb all over. And you know how I mentioned that other bus that stopped to see how they were going and everything like that?
Yes.
He had actually gotten onto the bus to see if he could help and saw what he was doing and was just like, "Please stop."
Oh.
And then I think he is the one. So he is quoted as saying that he thought he could get through it on his own, but eventually his wife made him go to therapy, which is really, really good. And he is now back driving buses, although they are empty ones. He's a more mellow person. He's a more mellow person than he was before, and he still sometimes, like, gets these moments of anxiety where he's back at that moment. So, bit intense. I'm trying to find the alcoholic, but I can't. Sorry.
She says as I pour myself a glass of wine.
No, I'm trying to find the name because I had all the names written down, but I can't. I mustn't have written alcoholic next to it.
Do you mention anywhere Vincent's weird behaviour before he got on the bus?
No.
Lee's weird behaviour?
So, I do have more into that. I just wanted to talk a bit more about the victims. So,
No, that's fair. I just was curious if, like, that comes up later in your notes or anything.
A little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to stay victim focused, and honestly, this case was just a bit like, damn.
Yeah. It's just one of the very memorable. I mean, I know the whole case is very memorable to me, but his weird behaviour beforehand really stands out. Like, I am certain that I first heard this on an episode of Wine and Crime. Like, I distinctly remember Amanda telling it, but I've just gone through and have tried to find the episode. That's what I've been doing on my phone this whole time that you've been talking, trying to find out when it would have been. I can't find it. So maybe I dreamed it, but, like, I know I heard this case on a podcast. And at that point, Wine and Crime was the only podcast that I listened to.
I don't think I could find too much about his behaviour beforehand, but again, I was more victim-focused and on what happened to the victims afterwards, more than like, Lee, because there was a reason given, and I just kind of was like, okay, that was the reason, and then I just kind of, like, moved on. Well, look, I'll finish what I have got, and then you can tell me the fill in the blanks. So, the aftermath of it, obviously, apart from those people, like, that I just talked about, Greyhound actually ended up pulling a slogan that they had been running, which read, "There's a reason you've never heard of bus rage." Which I know isn't supposed to be funny, but damn, that's a little bit ironic. So that obviously was immediately fucking pulled. Tim's family brought a lawsuit of $150,000 against Greyhound, the Attorney General of Canada, and Lee himself. I don't know if that was successful or not. And then there was also 2 passengers, Deborah Tucker and Kaylee Shaw, that sued Lee, Greyhound, RCMP, and the Canadian government for trauma. They were seeking $3 million, but the case was eventually dropped. So the trial for Lee commenced on the 3rd of March 2009, so it was relatively quick. It was only about 6 months after this all happened. He pled not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder, which means basically that he does accept that it happened, but no mens rea. So a psychiatrist said that Lee did it because he was hearing voices he believed were from God, which told him that Tim was a demon, and that if he didn't destroy the demon, he himself would die. Judge John Scurfield accepted that diagnosis and ruled Lee not criminally responsible. He was remanded to Selkirk Mental Health Centre. And then by June 3rd, 2010, so just again about a year later, he was granted supervised outdoor walks. And he does appear to be getting better by May 30th, 2011. In February 2006, Lee changed his name to Will Lee Baker and was seeking to leave the group home that he was in. He did win that, and by February 10th, 2017, Lee was completely discharged and has no legal obligations or restrictions pertaining to his independent living. So he's straight up back into society now, having been rehabilitated.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the law. But there's still, like, a lot of trauma from, obviously, the people involved. As I said, I do remember reading that one of them did unfortunately turn to alcohol and does now have a alcohol problem. I don't remember who that was, and I hope that by now, obviously, they have had some closure, being that it was 10 years ago. 10 plus.
Yeah.
Not saying that
yeah, because 2008, that's like 14. Shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think I did read somewhere about Marlene, the chick who got on with him, saying that he was a bit odd, but she didn't really think much of it.
It's more... So I found something which does match with what I remember, that apparently he arrived the day before. So he got a bus, headed to Winnipeg, got off at Erickson.
Yeah.
And then overnight sat on a bench at the bus station. Like, just sat there. And all of the reports, he just sat there emotionless, sitting upright, staring straight ahead throughout the night and into the next day. And then that morning before boarding the bus, sold his laptop to a teenage boy for $60. Like, a small amount.
I just re-looked at my screenshots, and it says that she had stated that he had been pacing back and forth and talking to himself in a foreign language.
Yeah. Obviously, after this happened, they confiscated the laptop from the boy, and when they asked him about Lee, the teen said he had, like, no emotion to him, but he didn't seem like he was a very nasty guy. A lot of his movements from reports sounded more like robotic than someone in a rage.
Someone about to, like, hack someone to death and...
Yeah. That it was, like, robotic, emotionless movement. Which also really, like, that stood out to me, especially the sitting there overnight, just staring straight ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. See, it's weird, because I didn't read anything about the laptop, but again, I chose a lot of articles that focused on the victims. Like, I think the name of the article that I had to, like, sneakily screenshot was literally called, like, 10 years on the victims of the Greyhound bus killing or something like that. I was like, let me just open my collection. Yeah. So, 10 years after the Greyhound beheading, the scream that haunts the forgotten passengers. And there obviously was, like, a little bit, like, there was, like, a fact thing that I read, the dark truth, like, it was, I did read a lot. Mind you, I was also reading this at work, because I was doing these notes on my lunch break. So, but yeah, no, I'm glad that you did know that. That's weird. It just kind of adds to the thing. So I wonder if he was hearing those voices from God for, like, the 24 hours leading up to it, or...
It's also weird that you said that the voice... Because, like, you said that the voices convinced him that Tim was a demon.
Yeah, that's what one of the articles said.
But then, when I was looking just then, I passed, like, a CBS article that said he thought he was an alien.
Oh. I think that he... was just...
Demon makes more sense.
Yeah.
That tends to be what schizophrenic voices say.
Yeah, so that's right.
The person is.
I think he was later diagnosed as being... I found the alien one.
Yeah.
My bad. I must have just went with demon because that made more sense to me.
No, I think demon makes more sense as well, which I'm pretty sure is how I initially knew it as well. But as I was scrolling, I was like, alien? Okay.
Yeah, so this article here that I do remember reading, but apparently just wiped it from my fucking memory, said that he was reportedly harbored disturbing thoughts about aliens and how God had chosen him to vanquish them. And then it, was obviously later learned that he did have schizophrenia and he didn't have proper access to mental health treatment, which is probably why he was doing so well when he was in that healthcare center, which, is good. It's what you want.
Healthcare, crazy.
Weird. Oh my god, it's funny?
What?
I just found the part about the laptop. I fully just wiped this whole article from my memory. Lol.
Okay, do you have more notes?
No, I don't. I don't know why I thought that was going to be longer.
I mean, it was still a decent amount of time.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because it's 9 pages. Which I think most of my cases are 9 pages.
Yeah, that tracks.
See, yeah, but my next one's only 5. So my next one is actually short.
My next one's a bit longer, so... Oh, my next one's fucking bonks. I can't wait to tell you about it. Like, I've been so pumped that we've had to keep rescheduling because I've been so eager to tell you about it. So I've just been telling other people about it instead. Because, damn. Okay, so as I said at the top, I have not one, but 2 Christmas mysteries for you today. And I haven't actually written them as notes. So basically what I did was I realized today, it's Christmas next week. I should talk about Christmas stuff. And I think the only Christmas mystery that I know of that occurred at Christmas time, and I think this is just a random guess, I'm pretty sure the Sodder Children was Christmas time. It was December, I think. Which is on my list, but I was like, I don't have time to write notes about. Yes, Sodder Children happened on December 24th. I was like, I do not have time to write notes about the Sodder Children. I need a fucking nap. So I Googled Unsolved Mysteries Christmas, which brought me to a list verse article or listicle, 10 Unsolved Christmas Time Mysteries. Sodder Children was not on this list, which surprised me. I was like, oh, I guess I know what number 1 will be.
Embarrassing.
And
Yes, you did it.
all of these were quite interesting. 3 of them enough so that I'm like, oh, I could actually turn that into a full case on its own. So I've written those names down and put them to the side. Because, damn. 2 of them don't really need to go into much more detail than what they've already written here. So I'm not going to quite read it verbatim. I'm just going to have it open, look at it, and ad-lib it. I'm just going to improv.
Yeah, alright.
I've got the information. I have only 2 mouthfuls of rosé in, so we should be fine. 2 very different Christmas mysteries here for you. This first one is the spontaneous combustion of Matilda Rooney. Now, I know I did a whole episode where I talked about spontaneous human combustion, SHC, as I've written it in all of my notes, where I just kind of did a dip into a few different cases, and I both claimed it was a mystery and then scientifically said it was scientifically impossible, but then also said science is unimportant, which I stand
all
by
in
my
the
stance.
same breath, which is a true Jeremy style.
Pretty much. It was basically me going, okay, so I'm about to tell you that there's no answer to how this can happen, but also science says it's not possible, but science is unimportant.
Science is trash.
Anyway, this is a spontaneous human combustion story that didn't come up in any of my research for that, that previous one. So I was like, oh, okay. I might quickly find my notes from that just to give a rundown on. I think I gave a brief rundown on what spontaneous human combustion is.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Where are you, Christmas? Spontaneous human combustion refers to a human bursting into flames or dying by fire without any clear external origin of ignition, a belief that the fire originates from somewhere within the body itself. There have been many reported cases of this, as well as it appearing through a lot of literature and media over the years, despite it not being able to be proved or understood scientifically and technically being deemed scientifically unimportant, scientifically impossible. But science is unimportant. And then I literally have it here. Okay, so maybe it's technically not an unexplained phenomenon, and there's science stuff more or less debunking it. Science stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. My doctor boyfriend loves that. Sorry, not quite. Very close to being a doctor.
I was gonna say, I didn't think he'd gotten it yet.
Anyway, that's the rundown on what spontaneous human combustion is, in case you forgot. I talked about it a lot in an episode. I don't remember which one.
It happened?
I want to say...
We were there?
Were we there? I don't know if we were.
Parts of it.
Sometimes I listen back to episodes and I'm like, was I actually present for this recording? The last one that we recorded, I was like, was I present for this? I spent a lot of time talking about about cum smelling like ammonia. I'm like, I don't remember this conversation.
I don't remember this conversation.
The episode's literally called This Blood Smells Like Cum.
Nice.
I'm gonna take a stab here and say that I probably claimed that science was unimportant in episode 15. Science is unimportant.
What? That's crazy. I don't think it's that episode. I think it's a different episode.
Yep, a man who does the bad a lot before Jeremy suddenly goes up in flames and proves it's not a crime to be hot. That sounds about right. Okay, so apparently a farmhand named John Larson spent Christmas of 1885 with... Yes. I love that it's a case of spontaneous human combustion and the main person has the word arson in their name.
Yeah. The universe is really trying to fucking...
Didn't even pick up on that until right now. So John All Firestarter spent Christmas 1885 with his employers Patrick and Matilda Rooney. They were an elderly couple living just outside of Seneca, somewhere in Illinois. Shenadaddy. Shenecadaddy.
I think I say it so well.
They imbibed, they had a few drinks before All Firestarter retired for the night and went upstairs to bed.
So he was staying at his boss's house?
Yeah, he spent Christmas with his employers, staying the night. Well, he was a farmhand. I don't know what his employers did.
I forgot about that.
So, like, maybe they had a farm and he just worked at the farm.
Okay.
And it was Christmas.
I'm not
It's
gonna
also
lie to
America,
you.
so it could have been snowing. Who knows?
I forgot about the farmhand bit, and I was like, just envisioning like where we work. And I was like,
true.
That's fucking
Yeah.
weird. Why would anyone do that?
Apparently, at some point during the night, he woke up due to a coughing fit and was having trouble. Yeah. So yeah, he woke up in the middle of the night with a coughing fit. He was having trouble breathing, but then he got over it and he just went back to sleep not long after.
Breathing? What? Like it's hard?
It's not even important.
No.
He woke up the next morning on Christmas Day and...
Sorry.
He woke up the next morning, it was Christmas Day, and he found traces of soot on his pillow. So, like, Santa came down the chimney and was like, nope, you've been a bad little boy. You don't even get a full lump of coal. You just get some soot.
No, Santa, like, accidentally got some soot on his face when he was coming down the chimney, and then he kissed him on the cheek.
Cute. And then he started having the coughing fit, and Santa was like, oh shit, and hid behind a curtain and had to wait. Because he's like, he can't see me here.
No, literally, that's exactly.
It'll ruin the magic of Christmas.
Exactly. I'm so glad.
Well, Santa left him some gifts. It's okay. He went downstairs and was shocked to find Patrick, his employer, dead in his bedroom.
Oh, why was he going in his employer's bedroom?
I don't know. I'm guessing it was like, oh, wake up, it's time for presents!
Mom,
where's my
Dad!
bonus? What if Patrick and Matilda were actually his parents, but he also worked for them and they just were like, no, we're your employers now, son.
We're not your parents. Do not call us mom or dad. That's disgusting.
Not only was Patrick dead in his bedroom, Matilda was nowhere to be found. Later that day, he wandered into the kitchen and found just a big black hole in the floor.
He came downstairs early in the morning, found his boss dead, and then just fucked off for a couple of hours. Comes back a little bit later where he's like, you know what, I'm a bit peckish, I'm going to make myself some breakfast, some lunch. Later
I lost my appetite when I saw the
kitchen and is like,
seeing that dead body early this morning made me lose my appetite. But
so we had to wait a couple of hours.
I could go a Sega. Anyway, he walks into the kitchen and he sees just this big black hole in the floor of the kitchen, and he's like, was that there yesterday? I don't think it was.
No, because it's fucking Matilda, you dumb cunt.
And he goes and he looks at the hole and finds what appears to be the charred remains of a human foot.
Oh. Spicy.
And inside, so the foot was like next to the hole, I guess, and then inside the hole was a pile of ash.
That just makes
What?
no fucking sense. If you're trying to convince someone
He noticed the hole, but not
died,
the foot.
I'm sorry, what? Why would the foot survive?
But remember, like, in all of those other cases, it was always, like, a foot or from the knee down that didn't go up in flames. Like, hang on, let me look.
Spontaneously combust everywhere but your foot.
Looking at the first case, her backbone and part of her left foot was remaining. Both legs untouched from the knee down.
That doesn't make any sense.
Leaving only his skull and a portion of each leg below the knee. I don't remember if we commented on this connection when we listened to it, that it was always the foot and the leg that was left. I'm sure we probably did.
That's fucking weird.
The lower leg and slippered foot of old Dr. John was discovered next to the toilet. I remember discussing that one. Because we were like, of all the places to die, it had to be the shitter. Anyway, these charred remains of a human foot and the pile of ash inside this black hole in the floor was all that was left of Matilda Rooney.
Well, he assumes.
So it seemed that Matilda was the victim of spontaneous human combustion, causing her entire body to catch fire, except for one foot, and burn to ashes. And I remember we talked about this because my fun facts were about cremation and just how hot a fire needs to be to actually reduce a human body to ash, which even then, in cremation, what you get afterwards is not actually ashes, it's the ground up, dried out bones. So, the estimated temperature of the fire that consumed her was 1,400 degrees Celsius or 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is insanely hot. And that, like, a fire of that severity should damage everything else in its surroundings.
Yeah, what?
Like, which it also makes me think of the fire poltergeist in Indiana that was just, like, setting this piece of wallpaper, this curtain, this bedspread on fire,
you know what,
and nothing
bitch,
else
you need
around
to
it.
redecorate, and I'm gonna show you what parts, okay? That fucking wallpaper, but you won't crack when you pop it.
But yeah, so aside from that hole where I'm guessing she was standing when she went up in flames, there were no other signs of fire damage other than that spot. Apparently, it was later determined that Patrick had died of smoke inhalation, which I was actually just about to be like, wait, so we know how she died, but what's up with the dead boss? There we go, the article answered it for me.
You know what? He doesn't care about him because he just saw a dead body and then went and had a fucking snack a couple of hours later.
So he died of smoke inhalation, which explains firefighter's fire starter coughing fit during the night. Apparently he was spared from death because he was sleeping on the second floor behind a closed door.
Wanting
so okay, there we go. There we go. That's probably how he found Patrick. I don't think it was that he was just like, morning, boss, just strolls on into his bedroom. The door was open. And he was like,
no, he fully...
Boss, why are you still asleep?
Like, Dad, what are you doing sleeping? It's presents!
Give me presents! The cock has bellowed 3 times already. Does a cock bellow?
What the fuck? I don't
No, they... What do they do? Cockle-doodle-doo! What's that called?
Exactly what you just said. No, don't Google it.
What
it's how you described it. That's the real scientific word. You should definitely say that to a farmer.
A rooster do. What does a rooster do?
It roosts.
Why do roosters scream? Do roosters cry at night?
Yes, because you guys are
Crowing.
asking fucking weird questions like this.
They crow.
Oh no, I knew what it was called. I just really wanted you to continue your life thinking it was just...
I'm just gonna stick with bellowed. But I needed to answer my question at the same time. So the cock has bellowed 3 times already. Why are you still asleep and not giving me presents? Oh wait, you're dead.
Morning. I still feel like I'd just be like, alright, well, present time for me then, besties.
Yeah.
More for me.
I guess there's more presents for me.
I'll just return those ones that you didn't need anymore. Get me money back, buy myself something.
So naturally, there was speculation that Larson, Firestarter, could have murdered Matilda. However, it seemed impossible for him to have started such a severely hot fire without damaging the rest of the house.
Yeah, that part is a bit...
How
you going?
But then it's also like, well then how did she go up in flames?
Magic.
It's possible, supposedly it's possible that excessive alcohol consumption caused Matilda Rooney to spontaneously combust. And I do remember that being a theory. Oh, my eyes went straight to the right place. Again, in my old notes, from Britannica.com, the victims were often alcoholic and overweight, and more female than male. So there was a general perception.
I'm gonna spontaneously combust. Woo!
So there was a general perception that it was a kind of retribution for a debauched lifestyle.
Oh, sorry.
This idea was reinforced by lurid newspaper accounts of suspected cases. It made intuitive sense, after all, that a body saturated with a flammable substance, alcohol, would become flammable. The Victorian explanation that alcohol rendered the body flammable doesn't work either, however, seeing that the concentrations of alcohol in even the most intoxicated people are much too low and that an external source of ignition would be required. So don't be a lush and you won't go up in flames. Anyway, the story ends with there being a prominent local legend that she suffered divine retribution for daring to drink so much on Christmas Eve. But isn't that the whole point of Christmas Eve?
I think in Australia,
you get shit-faced.
Christmas is to get shit-faced.
Yeah. You get shit-faced, and then you have, because you have to prepare for having a deal with your family.
Ugh.
And then the next day, because you're slightly hungover, you have more of a reason to drink with breakfast.
I just love that universally, and by universally, I mean across Australia, everyone's just like, so what time are you starting to drink on Christmas Day? Oh, 10? 9? 8? When are you waking up?
So, that's one of my Christmas mysteries. My Christmysteries. Oh.
That's cute.
Christmysteries.
Ooh.
I just made that up on the fly too. Like, that's also, why I'm so proud of it.
I'm not gonna lie, the entire time you were talking about Matilda, all I could envision was the movie Matilda.
Me too.
And I was like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And I was like,
when does Miss Honey come in?
Literally what I was gonna ask. She in a jar on the shelf.
She was a witch and she got burned at the stake.
Oh.
And the stake being the steak that she was probably preparing to cook in the kitchen. Also, why was she up and in the kitchen in the middle of the night when everyone else was asleep?
I just feel like someone for sure fucking murdered her and then just tried to make it look like a spontaneous combustion, and everyone was too hungover from Christmas to fucking give a shit, so they just rolled with it.
It was also 1885, so like...
Oh, yeah, that as well. Also, I feel like they low-key, like, hated her. I don't make the rules, but I feel like that's what happened.
Yeah, because she dared to drink so much on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this fucking bitch, she's just an alcoholic. No one gives a fuck about
What a
her.
lush. Yeah, someone came back from the food court the other day and, like, walked into the tea room with their lunch. I'm like, oh, was it Bedlam out there? And keep in mind, I also didn't have a voice, so they couldn't hear me properly. And she was just like... She was like, what? I'm like, was it Bedlam out there? And she's like, was it what? And Papa jumped in and went, crazy. Was it crazy out there? And she was like, oh, a little bit. Why didn't you just say that? Why didn't you just say crazy?
Everyone knows the fucking reference.
And Papa and I at the same time were just like, Jeremy doesn't speak like that.
Jeremy's special. That's why we love him.
I can use normal words like walkway, but I choose to say thoroughfare.
No.
Having said that, Mateo likes it because he learns new words all the time from me. And literally the other day when we had to go and get some food from the shops for my mum who had COVID, I was like, oh,
Okay.
it's a shopping centre in December. Yeah, she's fine. It's a shopping centre in December. It's going to be Bedlam in there. And he's like, what? And I'm like, crazy, mayhem. He's like, oh, is that what that means? There's a magic card called that. I've always wondered.
Oh.
But
He's so cute.
I mean, I'm also surrounded by some not bright people. Someone literally asked me earlier this week if Jupiter has a sun. We just stared at her and were like, yes, we share the sun with Jupiter.
I'm gonna keep listening, but I'm just gonna go see what Squid is eating.
What?
It's a mouse.
Oh.
She's been playing with her for like half an hour.
Oh.
Ew! I have to get rid of it, don't I? Squid, stop! Squid, no! Stop! She's just like, oh, what the fuck? Squid, no! It was so gross, babe. Ew. I feel really good right now.
I'm just contemplating if there's a way to keep this, like, to cut my story out and keep this content.
Squid, stop! Stop, baby. No, stop. Stop. You've been fed tonight, you fat
That's what the issue is? That she's eating too much? Not that it's a mouse.
I have to clean this up.
Alright, well, great segue here. Not
Great
even
segue.
planned.
What did you just do? Oh, I just picked a dead rat up off my hallway floor and put it in the bin
Oh, it's a
outside.
rat now, so it's gone from a mouse to a
It's
rat.
I don't know,
Wow.
it was like the size of my phone.
So, you're aware of the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, right?
Yeah.
'Twas the night before Christmas,
that one.
and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even the dead mouse.
Oh, fuck you!
Okay, but that would make it a zombie mouse. Oh, a core memory got unlocked last night. So, this bonkers superhero show that I watch, its current season is airing, and I was watching it last night, like this week's episode, and part of the storyline for this season is the zombie ass-pocalypse. Bumageddon. As in, zombie bums. Separate from the person. And I was watching it, and I just randomly had the thought of like, why does this remind me of something? And then I remembered a series of novels that I read as a kid that I have completely erased from my memory for the past, like, decade. The Day My Bum Went Psycho.
What?
Which one of the following books after The Day My Bum Went Psycho was Bumageddon and Zombie Bums from Uranus.
I think we read different books as children.
I remember reading them. I don't remember much, like, anything other than reading them and it being about, like, the bum uprising. Like, the bum just separated from the body and went and met the other bums in the woods in the middle of the night. And then the revolution occurred and they took over the world. It was by that guy that did the, like, the Just Shocking, Just Crazy. All of those books. Did you read those? Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, that was a core memory that was unlocked last night, and yeah, you're another person that I've mentioned it to in the past 24 hours that is just like, the fuck are you talking about? Anyway.
Concerned, and
A Visit from St. Nicholas.
Why you don't read.
Hey, I want to find those books and read them again. I want to remember what that was. See if that has anything to do with my trauma. So,
what to do with it?
Clearly, because I repressed it for like 12 years. Obviously, most people are familiar with that poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. And while there is technically an author listed as having penned it, there is a big mystery, slight controversy about who actually penned that poem. It has not been 100% confirmed. And so that's my second...
I penned it.
That's my second mystery.
I've already solved
So... Oh, okay, cool. You were alive before 1823?
Yeah, I'm a vampire. That's what I'm telling you.
We've literally had this exact conversation, but the other way around. Where you were like, are you a time traveler? No, you're a vampire. I think that was in like
side
episode
note,
2
like,
as well.
if you were a vampire and you didn't at least offer to turn me, I'd be so mad at you.
Fair. I don't think I'd like being a vampire. No reflection, no garlic. I could deal with the no sunlight thing. Oh, actually, no, I do like sunlight.
Okay, I could deal with the sunlight and the reflection thing. Could not fucking care less about those. The garlic thing, though.
I am incapable
Garlic
of passing
bread.
a reflective surface without looking at myself, so I could not deal with the no reflection thing.
I mean, I, like, look at myself, but I'm not, like, obsessed with myself. I say as I look at myself in the fucking...
Yeah, but the thing is, when you look like me, you can't help but be obsessed with yourself.
Okay, sure, babe.
So, the poem was sent anonymously to a newspaper in New York and published for the first time on December 23rd in 1823. It proved to be, like, a hit. It was enormously popular.
It went viral.
It did. It went viral, but, like, 1800s viral. So, like, hear ye, hear ye. I pretend I'm ringing a bell.
Check out this mad fucking poem about Santa Claus.
Hear ye, hear ye.
I'd laugh if you broke your glass right now.
I would too. Especially considering it's like one of the last 2 of a set of 6 crystal glasses. That I personally did not break any of this set. Just putting that out there.
This
was all my ex.
Set.
Well, they're white wine glasses and I don't really drink white wine all that often. But also it was my ex that broke like the other 4.
Ew, boys.
So yeah, it went viral, but like town crier viral. And the author's identity was unknown until 1844, which is a number of years later. I just tried to do the math in my head and it did not work at all.
Wait, what was it?
21 years later. 23, 44 minus 23, I think that's 21. So in 1844, a solid 21 years later, a professor named Clement Clark Moore claimed credit for writing the poem. He claimed that it had been sent to the Sentinel, so apparently he wrote it and read it to his children every year for Christmas, and then his housekeeper found a copy of it while cleaning and liked it so much that she sent it into the paper without his knowledge.
Yeah, sure. Blame it on the poor people.
Yeah. Blame it on the help! So, supposedly that's what happened. And he apparently was hesitant to take credit because he was embarrassed by it and found it unscholarly. He was also like a poet and he was also a poet and a writer, so it wasn't just like some rando off the street being like, "It me, I wrote it and sent it to you 21 years ago. I just decided not to tell anyone." Like, it was like, oh, okay. So it's now basically been credited to him. If I looked this up to get more information. I was like, who really wrote it, to see if I could find more articles, which I did find some more articles and read a bit more about it. But if you Google it, it does bring up his name, and he is credited as having written it, and then in, like, collections of his works, this poem is included. Yeah. Collections of his confirmed known works. However, some historians do not believe him to be the actual author. So, not long after he came forward and claimed ownership of it, the family of one Henry Livingston Jr., who died 5 years after the poem was first published, I think it was about 5 years after. Yes, because it was 1828. It's actually right there on the screen in front of me. There we go. Whoopsie. So yeah, in 1828, he died. Quite some time before this Moore guy was like, oh, it me, I wrote it. And after Moore came forward and claimed ownership of it, Livingston's family disputed this and said, well, actually, no, he was reading it to the children in our family for 15 years before it was published. And even reportedly in one of the articles I read, presented a handwritten copy of it with, like, notations and scribbles and changes. But one of the most compelling pieces of evidence to say that this was written by Livingston and not by Moore is, so this poem is actually where we got the reference of, like, all of the names of the reindeer. Because, from memory, it ends with yon, like, Santa gets in his sleigh and he's like, okay, let's go, Comet and blah, 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 names them all. Yon Dasher, yon Dancer, yon Prancer, yon Vixen. Go Comet, go... Fuck, why am I forgetting that one? Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet. My brain went to say Lancer, but that's a car.
Nope, you've cracked it, it's Lancer. Blitzen? Did you say Blitzen?
No, Blitzen's the last one. Donner and Blitzen are the last ones because they're the ones I'm about to mention.
I remember Rudolph.
Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen. Yon Comet. Cupid!
Ah.
Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. There we go. And then it ends with, to all a good Christmas and to all a good night. Or Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night. I'm like, everyone knows this poem. I apparently don't know this poem. To be fair, I've never actually heard it in its entirety. I just know the opener and the ender. Anyway, so this is actually the origin of the reindeer's names. And funnily enough, originally, the last two reindeer, Donner and Blitzen, were originally apparently Dunder and Blixen. But they became Donner and Blitzen because of a printer error at some point. I don't know, I don't think it was in the original print, but at some point there was a printer error and they became Donner and Blitzen instead of Dunder and Blixen. And this is important because Dunder and Blixen is Dutch, or they're the Dutch words for thunder and lightning.
That song by Imagine Dragons just popped in my head as immediately said that.
Furthermore, Moore spoke no Dutch, and Livingston did. So he wouldn't have known the significance of Dunder and Blixen, and supposedly several years later, after claiming ownership, when he wrote out copies of his poem, he actually committed to writing Donder and Blitzen instead of Dunder and Blixen, which were the originals, supposedly, which if he wrote it, he would know that.
No, he wouldn't know anything.
But then, as well as that, at some point a professor, in 2000, a professor named Donald Wayne Foster apparently did an analysis of the two and compared the poem to known writings of Livingston's and known writings of Moore's, and it actually came back bearing a striking resemblance to Livingston's other writings and was quite an anomaly. And I know how to say that word, but I read it weird. Anomaly to Moore's body of work, as he was reportedly a sour, unsentimental individual, and it did not fit his persona. So there's disagreement between historians.
But he was writing it for his children.
Yeah. So there's disagreement between historians, and it's a bit of a... Even, like I said, there is literally a credited author to it, but it is a slight mystery. A slight conspiracy was the word I was looking for.
Ah, gotcha.
But yeah, those are my Christmysteries for the week. Just thought I'd slide down your chimney into your ear holes and give you those gifts. You've been good little children, so you can have that instead of lumps of coal resembling the eyes of the naughty black-eyed children.
Please stop. This is worse than the mouse.
Santa's at the door.
Why the fuck is Santa knocking?
I don't have a chimney! Sometimes Daddy Winter just pops by for a visit, okay?
I feel like he would go through your balcony rather than your fucking front door.
This is true. Also, I'm that used to only thinking of Santa in the context of The Sims that my brain automatically always refers to him as Daddy Winter.
That's fair.
We walked past a Christmas display in the city the other week, and I'm like, it's Daddy Winter! And Reese was like, who? And I'm like, Santa. He's like, okay, but like, it's summer, so why is he Daddy Winter? And I'm like, The Sims.
You call him Daddy Summer for Australia.
No, he's Daddy Winter. I am trying to get the next baby born in my legacy family to be Daddy Winter's baby.
That's bad.
Yeah. It's a goal that I'm striving for. Anyway, if people want to send us some Christmas gifts in response to this, how can they do so?
Well, they don't have our addresses because that's fucking creepy. But you can ask us for a postal address. You can send us an email at rfimhpodcast@gmail.com, or you can stalk us on Instagram at rfimhpodcast, or if you want to stalk us specifically, you can get Jeremy at
Jeremy Gage.
Or you can get me at Sir Kirsty Lee. We also have Facebook, Twitter.
I don't know if we want to be associated with Twitter anymore. I mean, we weren't associated with Twitter to begin with because we didn't use it.
Look, but, I did interact a couple of times, but it wasn't like fun, so I stopped. Yeah, let's just ignore the Twitter part. We do have a Facebook or a YouTube. Just type in Rent Free in my head in Google and you'll probably find us. Also, I did just Google Christmas wishes to say to people, and some of these are really fucking weird, but I'm gonna choose one to say to you now.
We should also acknowledge that not everyone celebrates Christmas, and it's not the only holiday happening at this time of year. I actually just realized that I meant to say that earlier on, that I chose Christmas Crimes because Christmas is significant to me. But, like, there's also Hanukkah, Kwanzaa follows Christmas.
Winter solstice.
Which is African American. Yes, there's Yule.
Diwali is coming up soon, isn't it?
I believe so. I'm not certain.
No, my bad. We've already passed Diwali.
Do you think Santa's like just a grown-up black-eyed kid? I was thinking about this earlier today.
Weird. What? No. I think he's Santa. There's also Las Posadas. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Which is from 16th of December to the 24th, celebrated by Hispanic families in the United States. It's a 9-day celebration before Christmas, beginning with a procession of candles, songs, and sometimes even people playing the parts of Mary and Joseph. Oh, that's kind of cool.
I like that.
It's the every night of Las Posadas is celebrated with gifts, piñatas, song parties, tamales, and prayer. Damn, that sounds fun.
Damn, that's several days of piñatas. I'm on board with that.
And then obviously Chinese New Year's coming up.
Yes. Well, New Year's in general is coming up. Alright, so what's my Christmas wish?
Oh, right. Your sweet Christmas wishes really touched my heart. Now sending some gifts would please my eyes too. I will be waiting.
Send me presents! Hey boss, wake up, I want presents. The cock has bellowed 3 times already. Why are you not giving me presents?
Oh my god, no, listen to this one. May you survive the priest's boring speech in church and join me at the party as soon as possible. Merry Christmas. No, this one's better. You know your life sucks when you have to wait the entire year for Santa to bring you some presents because apparently no one cares enough to give you a present. Anyway, there.
I'm just gonna randomly text you on Christmas morning. The cock has bellowed 3 times already.
I'm gonna be like half dead and be like, what the fuck is this cunt?